Okay, today I will be doing my presentation on the ontological argument. So, some background on the ontological argument. Okay, it was written by St. Anselm of Canterbury. He had first specifically expressed that God is the greatest conceivable being. This argument is a priori argument, and when it comes to this argument and him explaining why he thinks God is the greatest conceivable being, it has six different premises explaining that. Okay, for his premises, for premise one, he says it is a conceptual truth that God is a being that which no greater can be imagined. His second one is God exists as an idea in the mind. His third one says a being that exists as an idea in the mind and in reality, other things being equal, greater than a being that only exists as an idea in the mind. Thus, if God only exists as an idea in the mind, then we can imagine something greater than God. That's the fourth premises. The fifth one is, but we cannot imagine something greater than God. So therefore, the sixth premise, God exists. When it came to writing my paper and doing my presentation, after doing research, there were many different objectors who had something to say towards Anselm's argument, but I only chose to use three different ones. My first one is Galileo, my second one is St. Thomas, and my third one is Kant. When it came to Galileo's objection towards this argument, he suggests that one might use Anselm's claim to explain something like, okay, he can explain the presence of a non-existent things of all sort, which saying, as he used, Galileo compares Anselm's way of describing God to a perfect island. So that would be the non-existent thing. And he believes despite how wonderful this island is in any regard, in that same regard, it is possible to envision an island better than that. With St. Thomas' objection, he believed that the presence of God is self-evident, and he rejected the notion that it should be concluded from the argument of God's meaning. His second reason is not everyone hears the word God and understand that it means something that can be thought of as nothing greater, which means not everybody have the same concept of God. Like, not everybody thinks of God as a body. Not everybody thinks of God as the greatest conceivable being. Like, not everybody has the same meaning of God. For Kant's objection, he thinks the notion of life is viewed as the wrong logical form in Anselm's argument. He assumes being as a property and instantiating being made a thing better than it would otherwise have been. All things being is equal. He says life is not a logical precedent. It does not belong to the concept of God. When doing Kant's objection, I never understood, I kind of don't understand to this day what he actually meant, but I kind of got a concept of it. And doing research, I found this picture, and I think this kind of helped, but it kind of didn't. But I'm going to still read. It says, Kant thought that because the ontological argument rests on the judgment that a God that exists is greater than a God that doesn't exist, it rests on a confusion. Okay. I kind of still don't understand it, but for my conclusion, I decided to pick which objector stood out to me, which objector had the best thing to say against Anselm's argument, and I chose Galileo's argument. The reason I chose him because he did the great comparison between the greatest conceivable being of God and the greatest conceivable being of an island. And after doing research on his objection, it makes me think, like, can you imagine something being greater than the greatest conceivable being of God? I mean, I know deep down, like, my personal issues, I know that there's nothing greater than God. But, like, just off knowledge, saying, like, I knew nothing about God, like, I never grew up in a church or anything, this argument would make me think, just because he used this island, if you could say an island is the greatest conceivable island, you could just say that about anything. So if you could imagine something greater than his greatest conceivable island, could you imagine something greater than his greatest conceivable God? I just thought his argument was really good, man. It makes you think. I think